Hi nostalgic home cooks! Today I'm in the kitchen making an old-fashioned meatloaf. This is a classic tender meatloaf topped with a flavorful glaze, straight from my grandma's recipe box. This meal is easy to make and is packed with hearty flavors that pair perfectly with mashed potatoes, veggies, and a soft dinner roll. This is nostalgic home cooking at its finest. So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make an old-fashioned meatloaf. In my bowl, I already have 1½ cups of dried breadcrumbs that I ground up in my food processor. I'm going to pour over top 3/4 of a cup of beer or dry red wine. Set this aside to soften and soak up the liquid. I'm going to grab my loaf pan and spread 1/4 of a cup of chili sauce into the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to grab a large bowl and add in 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork. Sprinkle over 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Add in 2 eggs and finally the softened breadcrumbs. These ingredients are going to bind to the meat mixture and hold everything together. To mix the meatloaf, you need to get right in there with your hands. Squish and toss everything until it's mixed evenly. For a juicy, tender loaf, make sure to use higher fat meat. Lean ground beef or substituting something like ground turkey will result in a drier outcome. Now I'm going to transfer everything over into my saucy loaf pan and just press it down gently and evenly. And that is it. This super simple meatloaf is ready to go into my preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven and cook for 65 to 70 minutes. When the meatloaf comes out of the oven, to make sure it's fully cooked, use an instant read thermometer. Place it in the middle of the loaf and just make sure not to press it all the way through so that the thermometer touches the sides or bottom of the pan, or the reading might be off. And when the thermometer reads 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 degrees Celsius, the meatloaf is done. Just like most meat, it's important to let it rest for about 10 minutes to settle and lock in the moisture. Now I'm going to pop the whole loaf out onto my serving platter and then add about 2 tablespoons of extra chili sauce to top the loaf. The original chili sauce that was in the loaf pan has soaked and infused into the meat as it was cooking in the oven. And my meatloaf is ready to slice and serve. This meal pairs perfectly with creamy mashed potatoes, tender veggies, and a warm buttered dinner roll. And leftovers taste even better the next day when the flavors have a chance to meld and mingle together in the fridge overnight. Even though this recipe comes together quickly, it freezes really well and is a great freezer-friendly recipe that you can make ahead of time for quick and easy weeknight meals. This time-honored traditional dinner still has a place in any modern kitchen. If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks for stopping by.